Welcome again in our series of teachings for motivation, for edification. And I am Reverend John Benton of John Benton Ministries. Today we're going to look at the most outstanding word in the Bible. It is an outstanding word because it is the word that Jesus used often when he prayed. Every time that Jesus was performing a miracle or praying, he mentioned this word quite often. And it is important as the children of God that we get acquainted to the words of Jesus, understanding their meaning, and therefore walking in light. Light means clarity. When you have the ability of understanding, you are very clear of your goals, of your purpose. And not only are you clear of your goals and your purpose, you're also clear over that which is important to God. I want to talk about the perfect will of God. What is the perfect will? The word will means desire. To have a will is to have a desire. And all of us have different desires. The things we want to achieve in our lives, the people we want in our lives, the things we want to afford in our lives, all these are called desires. When you seek for something, or you seek to have something, whatsoever you seek is based on desire. Desire means your ability for choice. I desire this cloth. I desire this dress. I desire this and that. Those desires are what produces what we call the will. When people are dying or experiencing death, and they are fortunate to have memory to what they want, to what they seek. They have a piece of paper in which they write their will, their desire, to what they want to happen. If it means distribution of their wealth or information they want to convey to some people, they write a will. Therefore, a will definitely means a chosen desire. From the moment that Jesus began his work here on earth, he expressed a desire. Quite often when he prayed, he would mention the word will. He said, Father, not my will, but your will be done. Understanding the will of God is important, especially as children of God. Not for one moment should you ever think that whatsoever you are, you desire, you perform, is of your doing. When Jesus prayed, he said these words, "Father, let your will be done." He was very concerned about God's desire. He knew the purpose why he was here was that he may fulfill the desire of God. He asked every time that God will have the privilege to do what he will or he wishes to do. If that is the case, of which is the true case, it therefore means that from the moment that Jesus was birthed to the moment when he died, everything, every act, every move, every purpose was based on fulfilling God's desire. It means that while Jesus was here on earth, he did not intend willfully or by choice to do what he wished, but he did that which was fully God's desire. Jesus is teaching us to understand that our purpose in this life is not based on what we want. Even though what we want is the reason why we do what we do, to have certain achievements. There are actions we take. There are places we go. There are things we do. But Jesus was teaching us that even though our mind is able to fathom desires, ambitions, and wishes, our purpose in this life is completely and strictly supposed to be in the order of God's desire. Jesus wanted us to know that this is the reason why we were born, created, and given the opportunity to live on this earth. That being spoken, it clarifies a very clear point that if there is anything that is going to be done, if there is anything that is going to come to pass, if there's be an achievement that is going to happen, it will be based on the will of God. In these teachings, I'm going to teach you how you can determine the will of God. Knowledge operates like a plant. It starts with a seed. The seed is planted in the ground. Then from the ground comes a plant, and the plant increases in size and in height. We don't yield into perfection with an instant course. Everything that becomes perfect is through the stages of progress. We grow from that which is weak to that which is strong and perfect. So is knowledge. I've mentioned the word knowledge because it is essential to understand that we are as an empty vessel as one may think. We are very empty. We come in this life empty. And if we ever understand anything, it comes through the platform of knowledge. Jesus said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth the mouth of God." He mentioned man, not other animals. He didn't mention cat, dogs, domestic or wild. He mentioned man. It is designed in order by God. The human being is only able to survive not only by the food that he takes, whether he works hard to earn a living, like we all use the word earning a living when we work. But Jesus stated that man shall also live by the word. It is the word that creates knowledge. Knowledge is a set of information created by word. Anything that we understand, whether we have a name, whether we live somewhere, whether we perform something, whether we do anything we do, we contact words. We have names of locations. We have personal names, individual names. We have names of items. The human race have been able to give names to all objects which are visible with eyes, to all the living mammals which are known to man. God ordained in the Garden of Eden, He brought the animals to Adam that He could give them names. The idea of giving names to the animal was to the response of the use of word. We were designed by the word. we live by the word. We will be judged by the word. So I want to bring into your understanding that if you're going to know the will of God, if you are going to finally boast that you are walking, performing, and doing the will of God, it will be a progressive platform. It will not be instant. Everything begins in a humble position. You may start with ignorance, but ignorance is not your climax. Human beings have a tendency of improving everything, whether it is personal improvement or improvement to the things we do, we perform. We want the best all the time. Because it is not only that we are growing by body, we are also growing by mind, by understanding. That's why I say it is a process. It is a process. You will not be able to master, to understand the will of God instantly. God will allow you to evolve from that which is weak to that which is strong. In that process, where you come from a weak to a perfection, God guides you. But how will God guide you unless you submit to Him? When Jesus talked about doing the will of God, He was also submissive to the will of God. You cannot follow a particular path if you don't play by the rules. The rules governs that whatsoever step you make, it is guided by the rules. Your achievement, therefore, is basically made possible through guidance by the rules. When Apostle Paul was teaching Timothy, he told him about winning. And he talked about an athlete. And he told Timothy that if an athlete is to win, he has to abide by the rules, work and operate by the rules. It's very much essential for us to understand, just like we do our own activities based on the rules that we have set for ourselves, whether it is in the company, in institutions, this same work with God. When God raised the Hebrew people, He wanted them to know the rules. So He brought them to Mount Sinai, and through Moses, He gave them the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments were the guiding points, the guiding laws that was to lead man into a greater prosperity, to most of us who read the Bible, this prosperity has always to do with the location. Not understanding that the location was not that important to God more than the walk. They spent 40 years in the desert, in a place that would have taken them 10 days walk. God spent 40 years. And what was God doing? They were subjected to the laws of God. They were being taught by judges. They were being taught by Moses. They were being taught about the law. It seems that to God, the land that is flowing with milk and honey can only be possible when people abide by His laws. In tending to the perfect will of God, one should ask a question, whether they're walking in the perfect will of God or whether they're not walking in the perfect will of God. It is important for one to ask themselves a question, whether they are true to the will of God or whether they're ignorant. And the only thing that can prove whether you're walking in obedience to the will of God is to look at the guiding points, the law. We play by the rules. Your victory must be guided by the rules. You cannot play out of the rules and still project unexpected success. The children of God need to understand that it is the will of their Father, our Maker, to provide us that promise, whether it is a promise of healing, whether it's a promise of deliverance, whether it's a promise of blessing. It is the will of God to guide us to that which brings us total freedom. But it ain't going to happen just because we have some ideas, just because we have some feelings, just because we think it should be this way or that way, or because we have some opinions. When it comes to God, the law, the commandments is everything. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 27 and chapter number 28, God lays down priorities by which humans will achieve their blessings. He created humans with a heart of desire for excellence, the desire to succeed, desires to be the best. When God placed these desires in the human heart, He also allocated the guiding structures on how a human achieved the goals. And that was the 10 Commandments. So in the book of Deuteronomy 27, when God is talking about blessings and curses, the scripture makes it very clear that if you obey the word that I command you today, to observe every word in this book of law, then you shall be blessed. It sounds to me that blessing is supposed to come as a reward to obedience. It sounds to me that blessing is supposed to be a reward. Yet the main important act is to obey the law. It seems to me that the law is our duty. The blessing is God's duty. And that when we obey the law and we walk in those laws, we are pleasing the Master to release the blessing. He said very clearly that if you obey these laws, these blessings will come and follow you. And not only follow you, overtake you. You'll be blessed in the countryside. You'll also be blessed in the city. You'll be blessed as you come in. You'll be blessed as you go out. You'll be blessed within your cattle, livestock. You'll be blessed in your farm, your crops. You will be a lender and not a borrower. Some of the things that has been mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy 27